Welcome back to GearWire.com. My name is Bill Holland, and this is the Alesis Andromeda, one of the 20th century's last outputs in the 21st century of a true analog synthesizer with digital control. Alesis really went to town on this in the early 2000s at a time when really manufacturing and marketing an analog synthesizer with digital control wasn't necessarily the greatest idea in the world, but they did well, and the Andromeda is an amazing synthesizer, especially now with the late early 2000s reinterest in analog synthesis, the sort of boom in people getting more and more interested in analog again. This is really a really cool synth to have. It has 16 voice polyphony, which for you digital people doesn't sound like a lot, or anyone used to FM synthesis probably doesn't sound like a lot. However, with an analog synth, that's huge, and it's going to create a huge polyphony. Keep in mind that like the Mini Moog from Moog, and most of the Moog products, with a few exceptions, one being the Opus 3, most of those were monophonic. And now Dave Smith produced the Prophet, which was polyphonic, and there were a lot of early other polyphonic synthesizers. However, this is a new school synth in the sense that all of your controls digital. You have a programming interface right here that allows you to get in and really tweak everything, but you know what? Don't take my word for it. Let's take a look at the synth. This is the Andromeda from Alesis. You'll notice first off, over here we have the arpeggiator and sequencer. Master control for volume. Let's put on poly real quick here so we can hear it a little bit better. Turn my attack back. Now let's just switch a patch real quick. There we go. So we have master volume. Master tune, which you'll notice right now it's green here. If I move it out of tune, it'll turn gray. This is like originally what was used in synthesizers because like the early Moogs and Prophets and things like that would go out of tune very easily and were actually very hard to keep in tune. The disadvantage, of course, of this being digital analog is that it's designed really not to do that out of tune thing. However, you can create a unison detune, or you can use this to manually recreate it. Or if you're playing with somebody, say a guitar that's in drop D and you want to be in the same key, or if somebody was just out of tune and you want to match them, you can create an overall detune or uptune. You can also just hit auto tune and it'll automatically tune your synth. So even if the knob's positioned over here, you hit auto tune in an emergency situation. And you'll see this turn green in a second here. You'll see the process of it tuning is going on up here. So now over here you'll see we have again unison detune. What this allows you to do is create kind of a big fat pad sound. So you'll see if I do this real quick, hit unison X. Turn this into poly mode. You'll notice here I had monophonic on. Now I'm going to put polyphony on. See what detune does? And then portamento, for those of you who know portamento, you can have it on with polyphony on, but it creates kind of a weird effect. Here, I'll show you what happens. But then if you turn it to mono and do that same thing, we have our LFOs, which if I turn up my mod wheel, you'll be able to hear those a little bit more clearly. Make sure they're on. My oscillators with 2 different oscillators here, 2 per voice. If I have 16 voices, that means there's 32 VCOs available, both of these per each voice. In another video, I'll get into the different modes, the sync modes, and fine-tuning different things you can do to get really cool results with these. In later videos, I'll get into how to really tweak these to get really cool results out of the fine-tuning and the sync controls. Here we have our pre-filter mix, which allows us to kind of, you know, take out oscillator 1, add noise. Oscillator 2, sub-oscillator, ring modulator, and sub-os 1. Up here we have effects, which are, we have a variety of effects available. You'll see these appear in the LCD screen. And I can turn them off and on. These include reverb, chorus, distortion, and I believe a few other effects, some delay effects. We have our external input controls. Now you can throw your own voice in here. You can either plug in a guitar, plug in another synth, or even talk into a microphone and filter it a la Goldfrapp. Not that they use this keyboard, they do the same sort of thing with vocals occasionally. Here we have our filters. The top is based off the Oberheim expander module, and the bottom is based off the Moog modular of the 60s. And you can set these to either mix, notch, or bandpass. And you can decide how much of each filter goes out. You can also set the envelope. Over here we have our, real quick, our envelope 1, 2, and 3. Top is pitch envelope. Middle is filter, and the end is amp. Now amp is actually hardwired to the output of the keyboard, so you'll notice this is like a master control of my voice. Now if I switch patches really quickly and find something a little more, there we go. Now if I set this over to polyphony, make sure I have polyphony on, and I go over here by my mod wheel, you'll see there's a transpose button. This is really cool because what it allows you to do is transpose by, you know, say you have middle C, you hit transpose, and I hit this key while holding down transpose. You'll see it says here transpose 2 semitones up. So now my C is actually my D. And if I want to take it down an octave or up an octave, I can hold down transpose, hit here, and now it's minus 12. Hold down transpose and take it back up. Pretty cool way to transpose. It's a lot easier than using the just +1 and +2 keys that you find on a lot of keyboards, or the octave up and down buttons. Also we have chord memory, which really needs to be on more keyboards. It's very useful. Turn the release down so you can really hear what this does. Really reminiscent of a lot of the sounds of Orbital, The Prodigy, or really cheesy rave music. But we won't name any names on those particular ones. But I do love that sort of orbital sound that you get when you put the release up a little bit and just do a... Now, on the very end of the synth, we have different voice mix controls. So you can hit mod and control the voices from that, control the voice output, the main mix or the aux mix, and then you hit the mix you want and then just go to level control and it will set it, including the pan, so you could actually pan your different mixes to different parts. Also, if you go to voice output, you can over here select which voice you are actually editing, and then it'll decide off the 16 voice outputs off the back where it's going. So you could actually have all of your voices going to a different channel on a mixer. Pretty crazy what you can do with this. Well, that was a basic overview of this synthesizer. However, as you could see, it's a very knob-heavy synth, a lot of programming that can go on here, and especially a lot going on in the LCD screen that's not evident on the surface. So I've produced a multi-part series. This is part 1, but stay tuned for the rest where I really go in depth as to how to use this thing and get the most out of it.